Good morning, friends. Thanks for joining me once again in this series of talks about the employability opportunities, the way Indian economy and engineering opportunities are growing in India and so on. You may recollect that last session, which was done last week, we talked about the growth happening in Indian engineering sectors. We had a sector-wise analysis with statistics and growth numbers, past 5 years versus next 5 years and so on. In a nutshell, we realize that the opportunities are there, large scale opportunities are getting created both in the manufacturing as well as on the services side, and we also took a look at the the specific sector level growth patterns and so on. What I would like to do today is go further and then talk about what kind of growth is happening. Apart from that, how do we really tap into this particular growth? All of us are ambitious, we want good career opportunities, we want to get the best out of our booming economy, but what does it take and what are some of the critical employability challenges which are facing all of us? So today, in the next few minutes, I would like to talk about three aspects. One, once again take a quick look at where are we headed to, how much of growth is happening, what kind of opportunities are coming up. Two, the employability aspect and how big is the issue of employability and what does it take to really address the problem of employability, because the fact is that you would have definitely read it from industry leaders, from the media, and I am sure that even your faculty must have been highlighting this fact that engineering degree alone is not sufficient. There is a larger aspect of employability, professional readiness. So today's session would be devoted on that particular topic. What I would like to start with again is to touch upon what's happening in our country. We are the fastest growing free market democratic economy in the world. We are already one of the largest consumer markets in the world, and is all set to become the fifth largest consumer market. After the existing G8 countries and China, we will be the fifth largest market in the world, and more than half of our population will move into the middle class income bucket. About 100 plus million jobs in the organized sector, unorganized sector, agriculture and other sectors apart, the organized sector will create about 100 plus million jobs, and we will have the world's largest working population when it comes to the young working population. And all this is scheduled to happen in a short time frame in our own lifetimes within the next 20-25 years. And these are projections by various sources, government, NGOs, other analysts. Essentially, India is going to become a real big economic superpower by 2025 to 2030. Having said that, what does it take to achieve that kind of an aspiration? Obviously, it's an aspiration of 1 billion people. All of us want our country to be the world's strongest, most stable, democratic country. There's no question about it. One of the biggest requirements to meet such aspirations or make it happen is creation of strong engineering and management talent. So let's focus on the engineering side today. What has happened in India in the last 10-12 years is the capacity for producing engineering talent, which is concerning all of us, has increased many folds. As you can see from your screens, you can see from 1997 to 2007 statistics, the number of institutions have grown almost 4 times, and the number of engineering students coming out of these institutions also has grown kind of proportionately. From about 1 lakh plus engineers, today we are producing about anywhere between 5,50,000 to 5,80,000 engineering students coming out of these institutions. So we are all set to we are already the second largest producer of engineering talent after China, but we are the largest English speaking engineering talent in the world already. And that is what is making the world take notice of us. All these foreign investments and the outsourcing opportunities and the export opportunities are riding on this fact that there is a very big considerable size of engineering talent available in this country, and moreover this is an English speaking engineering talent who can really service the world's requirements. So, that is where we are. So, essentially to meet our nation's opportunities and aspirations, we are producing sufficient engineering talent, at least going by the numbers. In the last session, I also talked about the kind of job opportunities which are there in the next 5-year window, if that is any indication. You can see that I have just taken a few of the sectors which are most likely or predicted to post very high percentage of growth, and we are talking about 20% cumulative average growth over the next few years. And if you look at it, there is a considerable large sector or several sectors who are poised to grow at a pretty fast pace and who are poised to create significant employment opportunities. So, for engineering and science graduates, all these sectors are likely to produce very large number of employment opportunities. So, combining the large employment opportunities, which is marked in a green here, and combining with the large growth potential or the growth projections for the last 5 years, we can safely assume that there are sufficient employment opportunities. Now, if that is the case, what is pending now? So, in a nutshell, we are saying that our country is poised for big growth. There are several engineering technology segments which are positioned to have very large growth, and we are producing large number of engineering graduates. So, is there a big worry? What is the big worry? And one of the biggest worries, I mean, there are several other things. There are political, economic factors, and law and corruption. These are all big social worries. But one of the biggest worries which is there today and has been there for quite some time is the low employability of engineering students. Now, this is something which all of us have heard about it. What I would like to do now is in the next few slides talk more about this. What exactly is the worry and how exactly can we address it? First of all, is it such a big worry which warrants a discussion in a forum like this? My answer would be yes, and I would like to give you an idea about the level of seriousness attached to this particular problem. If you look at it, several national level at the highest level initiatives are taking place to address this particular problem, and I am just giving you a glimpse of what all is happening at the national level itself. There is a Prime Minister's Council for Skill Development chaired by the Prime Minister himself. There is a National Skill Development Coordination Board which is expected to coordinate across several educational and vocational organizations in the country. National and state level knowledge commissions which are specifically looking into upskilling our young people and also making sure that people are employable. There are several corporate initiatives. Most of the large companies today are involved in education and more precisely professional readiness of students in some form or the other. And then of course, there are several initiatives led by the industry bodies themselves, like the CII initiative, the CII education initiative, or the FICCI skill development initiative, the NASSCOM national certifications and skill development initiatives, and the series of reports and analysis being published by these bodies. All in all, what I am trying to highlight here is it is a national issue which has come to the forefront and has been recognized as one of the biggest threats to our growth aspirations. Unless this is solved, everybody knows that we have the opportunities. On paper, we are producing a lot of talent, but unless we really gear up to utilize the talent and make sure that the talent is geared up to grab the opportunity is just going to go past us and that window will be closed. So, obviously, a lot of coordinated efforts are happening at the highest level in the country. At this stage, let me try to define what is employability, because there has been a lot of talk about employability. Several words are being used: employability, skills, soft skills, professional readiness. I would like to use the word employability, which is behaviors and skills which are needed to be productive and to progress in career so as to achieve one's potential while successfully contributing to enterprise strategic directions. So, this is primarily assuming that majority of us are looking for employment and not really getting into entrepreneurial activities or to become self-employed consultants and so on, assuming that brute majority of us, I would even say 98 to 99% of our aspirations are basically to become employed. Employability is the professional readiness, the aspects which are beyond the technical and the vocational and the domain knowledge and skills which you are picking up from your curriculum, from your college, through other training institutes and so on, which are needed to be productive. That is the key word I would like to use here. The one of the biggest expectation is that when you are hired, when you are being employed, you should be productive. So, if you can be productive from day one after passing out from college, that gives you an edge, and that is one aspect of employability. The other one is progression in career, and career is not made in a few days. Career is something which is long term. It is not just about getting a job. So, the job placement readiness is one tactical aspect. It is a one time activity, whereas career is where you continue to progress in terms of roles, responsibilities, skills, so that there is a long term success. So, employability is the behaviors and the skills needed beyond your professional technical knowledge, the engineering knowledge what you have, or a specific technology knowledge, or even or an industry specific domain knowledge like banking or petroleum or whatever it is, which are essential for you to be productive and successful in a career for the long term. That is why if you look at the picture out here, I have tried to depict the various stages which you can look at in your career. You are passing out from an institute, you are holder of a degree which is making you qualified to apply for jobs and take up employment, and then you go through a screening, or this is the one time activity which is typically happening after you pass out from your institution. Once you are a degree holder, this is called your placement or the first job readiness, and then you are at work, and at work you learn new skills, you actually progress at work in terms of new roles and so on, and after a pretty long time, in fact at some point of time, you will say that I have a successful career, and that is the time you really feel like a winner. And employability is the DNA which runs through all these activities. It is not a one time skill or a one time readiness you need. It is more like the long term ingredient which you have to possess in order to succeed at all these things. So, that is our definition of employability. Now, at this stage I would like to go further up and then try to define what is employability. Employability has three portions or three aspects, distinct dimensions I would like to say. The first one is the behavioral aspects, second one is the individual effectiveness aspects, and then the third aspect is group or organizational effectiveness aspects. I use the word indicia here because based on this kind of a three-dimensional model, we are trying to measure the employability and also suggest ways of improving employability. So, once again I would like to highlight it here. Employability we believe have three distinct dimensions. First dimension is the behavioral aspects, second one is the individual effectiveness aspect. The individual effectiveness is your individual orientation and skills which will make you effective as an individual while you are interacting with others, and the third one is your ability to blend in and be productive in organizational, corporate or team environments. That is the third aspect. The combination of all these three things is what would define or determine your employability. We have come out with a table of employability, the indicia or the indicators. There are 13 behavioral indicators identified, the 12 individual effectiveness indicators and 10 group effectiveness indicators, totally comprising of 35 different indicators which would determine a person's employability. Having said that, how big is the problem? Because everybody talks about employability is a concern. I am just throwing some data at you. Some of these things are very widely known, so there is nothing new in that. The most famous of them has been the McKinsey NASSCOM study, which has been done in 2005 and subsequently again repeated in 2008 if I remember right, which has said that about 25% of engineering graduates are really employable in knowledge industries. So, this is not to exclude everybody else, but they are done specifically for within quote knowledge industries, which are typically the IT, the ITES and the BPO services, and also said that about only 15% of the non-engineering graduates are really employable, though they possess valid degrees and basic qualifications. Subsequently, CII had done a study under their National Skill Development Initiative, and they covered 36 industries and published this pretty major report. So, they said that the jobs are going to be created, and 75% of the large number of jobs which are going to be created will need formal technical vocational skills, which includes engineering, diploma, polytechnic, ITI, whatever. And out of that whole thing, if you consider the total output itself being employable, still there is a gap of about 40 million jobs in the next 5 years. So, the national risk due to skill gap is equivalent to 40 million jobs. That is a very scary picture, because all of us want jobs, there are jobs, but there is a skill gap which is preventing these jobs to be filled in. So, that is one way to view the problem. There is a large size problem. Second one, we did some survey from iPoint. This is the second round of survey we have been doing. So, we wanted to quantify the industry perception of employability, how employable are our engineering students. We wanted to identify which are the employability indicia which are critical, which aspects of employability should be focused upon and developed. What we did is, we surveyed 68 senior managers who are between them, roughly between them, I would think that they are managing somewhere close to 10 to 12,000 people among them. They are from 18 companies representing multiple industries, but predominantly the knowledge sector again, IT, services and so on. We used the 35 employability indicia model, which I talked about earlier, which had the 3 dimensions, the behavior, individual effectiveness and the organizational effectiveness. We used a forced ranking method, and what we know is the participants, the 68 managers who responded to this, considered students from tier 1 and tier 2 institutions only. They did not consider students from all over India, but based on their primary experience, they commented upon the employability readiness of students from the tier 1 and tier 2 engineering institutions only. The next few slides I will share with you what is the findings of this survey. So, out of the 35 employability indicia which we used, the top 15 were identified based on the participants' response. So, every participant responded about criticality of a particular aspect, number 1. That is what you will see in the blue line out there. Below that you will find the red line, which is indicating the strength of the student. So, learnability is very critical, is what most of the participants reported, and they said that the strength on a scale of 1 to 5 is somewhere about 2.5. That is, only about 50% of the students were considered or perceived to be strong on learnability. So, if you go with this particular one, you would see that learnability is the most critical aspect to be employable and to succeed in one's career. Work etiquettes among the 15 is the lowest. If you look at the strengths, people have found that self-confidence is by and large high. You can see it here, the red bar which is indicating the strength of students is relatively higher. Learnability also is higher, but when you look at written communication skill, we are seeing a big issue out here. So, some of the lower side of it, work etiquettes, though considered to be a critical aspect, most of the respondents said that our engineering students' work etiquettes are not very good. They are not professional enough to succeed in their long-term career. Listening skills, similarly, work ethics, all these things are areas of concern, though reported very high in terms of criticality, work ethics is number 3, and what you would see here is the participants, who are 68 senior managers from 18 different companies, felt that the new generation's work ethics definitely needs some reworking. So that's a very big area of concern, and so on. If you look at verbal communication skills is low comparatively. Some of the other things like positive thinking seem to be slightly higher, flexibility seems to be slightly on the higher side, self motivation seems to be there. So skill side of it, it clearly identifies which are critical and where the strength is low. At any point of time, if you have any questions, please just raise your hand or send a message, and we will be happy to answer that. Otherwise, I'll just continue to go ahead with my presentation. Now, I would like to take the top 5 behavioral employability indicators. You can see here learnability, self motivation, team orientation, flexibility and self confidence are the top 5 behavioral aspects picked by the respondents. And you can also see there the team orientation is the lowest, that is the students were considered to be the weakest when it comes to team orientation, and among the lot self confidence seemed to be the highest positive factor among the students. If you look at the individual effectiveness aspects, verbal communication skills, listening skills, English language skills, analytical skills and written communication skills were considered to be the top 5 individual effectiveness aspects which would make you employable. And within this, you can see written communication skills is really lagging behind, followed by the listening skills, and then the verbal communication and the English speaking skills, and analytical skills comparatively better off. The third dimension of employability is the organizational effectiveness. The 5 most important organizational effectiveness aspects reported by the participants included work ethics, team skills, work etiquettes, handling feedback, and appearance and disposition. And this definitely presents a very worrying picture, because work ethics is low, etiquettes is low, and handling feedback, the capability to handle feedback, which is very critical for us to improve and succeed in a career, all these things seem to be lagging behind quite a lot. So that gives you an idea about the top 15 employability aspects. Within that, the 5 behavioral aspects, the 5 individual effectiveness aspects, and the 5 organizational effectiveness aspects, and also the general industry perception about where students are strong versus where they are lagging behind. In summary, the participants' perception, and participants are people who are working, who are managing large number of fresh engineering students, their perception is that only 2 of the employability or the critical employability indicators have majority of the students, that is more than 50% of the students, are considered to be strong. There are only 2 such employability indicators. There are none of the employability indicators out of the top 15, more than 60% of the students were considered to be strong. More than 50% of the students are considered to be lagging behind on 8 of the top 15 employability indicators, and more than 60% of the students are lagging on 4 of the top 15 employability indicators. All in all, it is not a good picture which we are getting out of this survey, and that is kind of reflecting the industry perception, and I am sure that it is not just perception, it is based on their observations, and it is tallying with the earlier reports published by NASSCOM and CII and so on. What we have done in this survey is we have tried to give a better picture about what can be considered and where do you need to focus on in order to become more employable. Now, what is really worrying is this kind of perceptions are applied for students from tier 1 and tier 2 institutions. If you include the institutions which are even from the lower ranks, then the perception is going to be much worse. So, employability is indeed a grave issue, and industry per se is trying to do different things. Companies are trying to give entry level training and investing into that, but not all companies are doing that. Only the big fellows can afford to do that, and most of the tier 2 and the tier 3 companies are really expecting the students themselves to be employable and professionally ready by the time they come out of the campuses. Quickly touching upon why employability is also such a big issue is because today the expectation is both from the students, the society and from the industry is that the institution is the place where the student will be prepared for professional employment. And some of the statistics which I am highlighting here is that if you look at most of the institutions, I am talking about private educational institutions, PEI is for private educational institution. The highlight of the institution is the placement record instead of the academic record. In fact, this is a consistent trend we have observed. Everybody would like to talk about placement record instead of how many students got distinction or ranks and so on. So, that is clearly one big focus. Second one, the students are choosing the institution based on the employment prospects, and so are the parents who are, and the society. If you are looking at parents are definitely reflecting the society's moods, and they are using employability as or the employment and the placement as a critical factor. The institutions themselves are actually investing fairly heavily into enhancing the employability of students. 75% of the institutions we surveyed, last year we have surveyed 30 odd institutions from the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and 75% of the institutions are already giving more than 35 hours of placement training, which is roughly I am talking about 2 credits almost, and even that is not sufficient is the report we are getting from the placement officers. The placement officers we surveyed very recently, we surveyed placement officers from almost 50 institutions. They said that industry expectations on employability is only increasing, it is tightening. So, employability is a key expectation from the institutions today, and the other reason is that the students also recognize that while you study is the best time and possibly the only time where you can invest into creating all these skills. This is the first or the last, and the first and the last opportunity where you have 4 years to reflect upon your skills, identify your areas of improvement, and then do something to make you a better professional, productive professional and so on. So, the employability and the employability related coaching, training, mentoring which has to be received while they are at institution is critical, and the expectations are only increasing. Now, how to address this? Several discussions have happened. Generally, very loosely everybody says soft skills. We do not agree. Soft skills is a small portion of the total employability picture. We believe by the time a student or an engineer joins and become productive, that stage is called industry readiness. You achieve industry readiness over a period of time, and the industry readiness happens through 4 distinct channels. The first channel is your technical and the domain education. This is what is happening in your campus. This is your university curriculum. This is what the institution is really focusing upon. This essentially is your 4-year undergraduate B or BTech curriculum prescribed by the university. So, that is the first channel. Along with your technical and domain education, you must have employability enhancement programs. This typically or ideally should run along with your technical education. Now, this is development of the students to achieve high proficiency in critical employability indicia. And then the student, as they near the end of their academic schedule or the 4-year undergraduate program, they would choose distinct engineering paths and would look for finishing schools which will help them sector specific technologies and skills and processes, and that is the 4th channel which students should go through. Now, after going through these 3 channels, then the student will get formally inducted into a company or into an industry, and at that point of time the induction process will happen, in which company specific technology and process training has to happen. Now, the question is, who should be responsible for what? There has been never a dispute over who has to do the technical education. It has to be provided at the institution and by the institution, no question about it. That is why you are joining an institution. Who has to provide induction? It has to be done by the industry. There is no question about it. That is, once you are selected or once you join a company or a specific industry or an organization, they will provide the company specific technology and process training. The only question so far then is, who will provide the employability training, and who will provide the finishing school side of it. I would like to touch upon the finishing school. The finishing school is something which is a choice by the student, and hence it is not something which the institution need to offer. If the institution offers it, well and good, that is a plus point, but at the end of it, it is a choice made by the student, and hence will go to industry channels to complete their finishing school. But employability enhancement, which is soft skills, language, behaviors, organizational readiness, etc., is something we believe should be arranged at the institution by the institution almost on a mandatory basis for every student. Now, the level of training, the depth of training is a matter of choice by the institution, and there are ways to do that, but our strong recommendation is that along with the technical and the domain education, the employability education or the employability enhancement program should run. So, this should go hand in hand, both these things at the institution. Once we say these are the 4 channels we need to go through, I would like to present to you a roadmap which again we have published, and this is being used by several institutions today on how to prepare students by the time they pass out from the institution for employment. We are recommending this roadmap wherein the first level is the English language proficiency, then followed by individual effectiveness and self leadership, followed by group effectiveness and organizational readiness, followed by a one time activity which is the placement readiness, and then finally any industry specific finishing schools and so on. Whereas today's reality is, most of the places only the placement readiness is happening, which is your aptitude test and interview preparation and all that, whereas we do not even consider that as an employability aspect. It is actually preparing you for a specific cycle which is called placement cycle, and it is not the long term career propeller which you really need. Whereas these things, the 3 clusters which you put in here, are kind of life skills. You need it lifelong, and it makes sense to pick them up at the right time in the right incremental fashion. Hence, we called it as a roadmap. Essentially, our recommendation is start from the first year to the 3rd year, start with English language proficiency programs, and then in the 2nd year focus on self leadership and individual effectiveness, which is where your soft skills and a few other behavioral aspects will come in. And then finally, in the 3rd year time frame, try to get go through programs which will guarantee group and team effectiveness, and then you go through this one time activity for placement readiness just before the placement cycle, and then before you really go out of the campus, complete your finishing school. If you are choosing IT, then go through an IT program. If you are choosing say electronics or something like that, you go through a related one, or a telecom related program, or a mechanical related program. So, that is your choice of career, and then at the 8th semester you are out. So, this is what we call a roadmap, wherein there is a gradual progression. So, this is the employability enhancement roadmap which several institutions and universities are following, not exactly the same way, but this is what we also strongly recommend. In a nutshell, that is what I wanted to share with you today. The whole concept about employability, the expectations, the issues related to employability, the way to understand employability in terms of the employability indicia, which has 3 dimensions, which is the behavioral aspects, the individual effectiveness aspects, the group effectiveness aspects, and then getting a structured look at how to be professionally ready through the 4 channels, which is the technical education, the employability readiness, then you have the finishing school and the induction, and then finally what kind of a roadmap can you follow along with your technical studies in order to be ready for a professional career. That is this roadmap. That is what we wanted to share with you today. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take it at this point of time. I am done. I am done actually. This is finished. Yeah. No questions? All right. Thank you.